Hi there, just going to do a quick tutorial on how I put this composite together. It's the new Red Baron, I called it. It's my mate Herbie took a photograph of him a week or so ago using a 3 light setup to get nice rim lights and light on his face there, and just thought it'd be an ideal one. He's got this fantastic handlebar moustache there. Thought it'd be an ideal picture to sort of get in. The idea I've had of him was in some sort of dogfight, and I managed to find a plane that I thought would work quite well. And let's start by, I'm just going to alt click on the eye icon down here to shut off all the layers apart from the bottom one, just to show you. There's the original image that I found. It's just a museum photograph of the Red Baron's plane. It's all crashed up. Although it's beaten up, I thought this worked well because maybe I can do something with the areas that have snapped off and remove this solder out of the way here. Excuse me. And I thought we could easily use that and cut it out and see what we can come up with. Anyway, so that was one of the images. Another image was a cloud image because we haven't flying about. Too grey, so basically I've taken a new layer, put a new layer above it, filled it in orange, changed the blend mode to colour. So all it does is basically put the colour to it and leaves all the details below, and I reduced the opacity. That would have been it with the bright colour, but I've reduced the opacity right down to about, I think it was about 24%, something like that. Anyway, I'll leave that like that. Excuse me. Next thing I did was then I cut out the plane. As you can see, there's a layer mask there, so I turn that off. Just to turn it, if you ever want to turn a layer mask off, if you hold down the shift key and just click onto the layer mask, that'll puts a red cross through and it just turns it off temporarily. And again, click back on it. So there's the plane. Too red for what we need because we've got the orangey sky. So basically put another layer in, fill that with orange, change the blend mode to colour and reduce the opacity. It was getting there, getting there. So next what I've done is I've put a black and white adjustment layer and changed the blend mode to hard light, and that's really brought out the detail. Not too worried about this bit here because I'm going to have my pilot sat in there, so that's going to be hiding that. But the rest of it, I was quite happy with that. I thought it came out really well. Next thing I did, I started putting a bit of flame down. So down to the bottom left on the bit of wing there that's broken off, I just started basically adding. So it was new layers. I've got two. So I put in a little a group there, but it's two new layers, which has got one of the brushes, and I've got a smoke brush. I've got lots of different sort of styles of brushes. This was a smoke brush, and I've just dabbed that in, use a free transform just to stretch it and change it. So we're adding to it here. So again, we've got a bit more different colours adding just to sort of build up the sort of picture of it, and a bit of smoke there. And also within that, I've put layers, not layers, should I say. I've put in masks so I could then paint over this bit so it looks like the smoke's sort of coming behind the wing instead of in front of it. Next thing there, I added some flame. Now with the flame here, again, you can see I brought that in and I put a mask on that. So if I turn the mask off, it's basically just a picture of a flame. And what I've done, I've just sort of put a mask on it, painted it in, sort of brought it round into a ball so you can sort of get a better idea. And then we start to sort of disguise that a little bit by adding a little bit more smoke. So let's just turn that icon on there. And then we've got some more smoke coming into it. And then I added a little explosion. I've got some brushes that sort of give that idea that you've got a little bit of an explosion going on. So that was okay. I was quite happy with that down in the bottom right because I knew I was going to sort of bring some other stuff over the front of it, things at a later date. So then we went for an explosion to the top right. And again with this one, it's into a group. If I turn off the eyes from the group, you can see where I've just sort of built it up. So it's the first one, and the second, and then the third, and put that into a group, explosion top right wing. So I was quite happy with that. And then what we've done then is we've added some smoke to it. Next thing I did is the propeller. I thought I've had like a little bit of feeling of a little bit of movement coming from that. So basically what I did, I took a copy of the propeller and I put it up onto its own layer, which is here. So it's basically, I went round it with the polygon lasso tool to collect that. I can Command J to pop it into its own layer, and then I went up to the filter, blur, and then I went down to the motion blur, and on the motion blur I basically took just put a bit of motion into that, so you get that feeling of it's sort of a little bit of movement there. It's a little bit, but I've got some dodge and burn going in on here for some vents that I'm going to put in at a later date. Here comes the pilot. It's Herbie. Again, he's in his own layer, he's on there, and I masked him out some little bits that I know I'm going to get covering over in a minute. Again, he's not matching in, the colour of him is just totally wrong, so sorry, I've just brushed in there, so let's just go get rid of that. So what we've done there, let's just go up to here so I can't make some mistakes again. Okay, so we've got the pilot colour then, so basically I've just put in an orange, change that to colour and drop the opacity down to 40, and that worked quite well. Next, in comes guns. Now these are just Gatling guns that I got pictures from the internet, and I thought these would work really well, so I'll just show you one at a time. So there's the gun. Again, cut it out into itself, turn that off, that was the original picture. So that's the gun, and with that one there, I just basically Command J to copy it, put it in its own layer, and then I free transformed it and did a horizontal change there, so it just flipped it horizontal, so it went over there, moved it into position, and then what I did then is I painted some glare because it was too white. These bits here are white, see I've painted in the orangey there, so it's almost like an orange glare that's coming off of these. Let me just get rid of that down there where I've left that, that's better. Yes, we've got the glare, and basically that is, it's a linear dodge blending mode, painting in orange over the bright white bits, and then reduce the opacity down to 72, and I just did that on both the guns there, so that's going to bring that one in there. So that's it, so they just sort of blend in much better. I'm going to just collapse that there, so that puts that back into its own group, the gun's main, and next I'll put some vents in here, because just to hide the bits of the gun that were just sort of sitting there. Again, it doesn't look quite right, so new layer, filled it with orange, colour blending mode, opacity down 32, and I did a little bit of dodging and burning on that as well, just to blend it in, and that was that. Next I had the gunfire. Okay, there's the gunfire, and again there was lots of little bits to this. What I actually did for the gunfire was where you see this big fire star here, and what I've done is underneath I put small ones into all these holes here, and then went over it with a bigger one, so you can just basically see underneath these like little bright lights from each of them there. And how I actually did that, I'll quickly show you. I'm going to go gunfire left and pop that on. And the computer decides, there we go, gunfire left. To get the gunfire, it's a new layer. There we are, a new layer. I'll go across to the brush. Get a nice round soft brush. And that should do us. Paint in white. Normal blending mode, and I'm going to just do a dot there. There we go. Now from that, I then went down to the smudge tool. The smudge tool is down here with the blur sharpen tool, so we've got the smudge tool. And then what I've done is from the middle, I've just dragged out and dragged out. And this has been very slow today. Let's just drag that out. And again. Come on, that's it. It was a lot quicker than this. It's because I'm sort of recording this at the same time. It's using some of the memory up as well. So basically we're going to do this. There we go. And we'll drag them up here just to show you. Anyway, I'm sure you get the idea. I'll just add one more because there's a little bit more to it than that. So, and I'm going to just drag another one down there. Okay, so imagine that we've sort of done, well, you can see that I've done that there. Now I'm going to go to the layer that I've done that, and I'm just going to double click on it. And we're going to get the layer style options come up. Now in the layer style, I'm going to go for an outer glow. Click on the outer glow and onto it, and I'm going to go for a nice orangey red sort of colour. And we can see that coming around now. So I'm going to say OK to that. Now the blend mode on that is screen. I'm going to try and multiply. Sort of darken it down a little bit. Maybe bring the opacity up a bit more. And we'll just increase the size a little bit. Increase the size a little bit more. You can see it's sort of coming out a little bit more there. So basically that's how I've done it. I'll OK that. And then Command J just to duplicate it, and it just brings out a little bit more. If it's too much, go to the opacity and just slide it down a little bit if you think it's too much. But that sort of gives you the general idea there. So then on layer 38 and 38 copy, those are the two ones, and I'm just going to delete those now. As you can see how that was done. Okay, next I put in a visor. I'm going to pop up here. There it goes. And within the visor, again it's in its own group. And what I've done with the visor, let's just bring that down. We've got the visor colour, because it was too just white and opaque, so I put a bit of orange there, and I put a little bit of glare in there as well, just to sort of make it a little bit more realistic. So I'm going to shut that. Next thing is a small plane, and that's going to come down the bottom left hand side. And the small plane that I've got here, again I've put it in its own group because there's a couple of layers to this, so I'm just going to open that up and show you. Let's turn the eye off that. So on this one here, again very slow, and I've put a soft light blending mode on that one, and then I've just duplicated it. Again I put a multiply on that just to darken it up. I put them into their own group, small plane. It says small plane copy because I probably did the one to the right first, and just reduce the opacity down to 43, because if it's too high it's just too prominent. So I sort of just reduced that right down, about 43 I think it was, just to sort of give the idea it's hiding sort of behind the clouds a little bit. And then we did a plane up to the top right, same sort of thing really, same as that, and did the same blending modes and just reduced the opacity. Now I've put a bit of fire here. Now let's just open this up for you so you can see the fire to the top right wing. Again, it was just a photograph of fire. There, just a square as you can see. And I put a layer mask on there and just sort of coloured away the edges. So I had that one there, it was just a soft light again. And then I've duplicated it up here, and again in soft light, with it duplicated, it just brings out the details of the actual flames without bringing out details of anything else. So that was quite good. And then we did a fire to the bottom right, and again similar sort of thing, 2 layers and a layer mask just to sort of hide the edges. And then we put some smoke down to the bottom as well, just to sort of blend it in, hide a few little bits there. And then we've added a plane coming in from the top. Here it is. Why has it taken so long? Here we go. In it comes. And again, that plane there is in its own layer. I've added the gunfire, that same method as I used down there. In fact, I think I probably even copied and reduced the size down onto them there. But let me just take a few of these elements away just to let you see how it was built up. So let's go away. Okay, so there's your plane. The first plane there, it is actually a drawing of a plane. It's not a real plane. It's a drawing that I've managed to find. So what I've done there is I've added a layer to it. I've changed that layer there. That should come up as multiply. There we go. It's showing up there as multiply. So that's added. And then I put a little bit of propeller sort of flare. All that basically was on its own layer. I put in a circle, coloured it in grey, and then just reduced the opacity down on it. And then we've added the gunfire and put that into its own group. and then I'll put some tail smoke then, just to sort of hide the plane away a little bit. And again with the tail smoke, there's 3 layers in here. Let's just drop them out so it shows they were built up. So there's the first one. And using a layer mask, I just, as you can see, that's beforehand. I just wanted to bring out the details around his helmet and face where the smoke was going over. Excuse me. And also on the actual gunfire itself. And then we're just adding a bit more smoke around that bit there. And again there. That sort of blends in quite nicely there. And the last thing was the debris. So over here it comes. There's all the debris. Again with the debris, there's lots of layers here where I built up the debris. But I'm just going to basically show you how I sort of got the effects on this debris flying here. So you see these bits here. Now, by using the bevel and emboss, there we go. If you look around here, you can see these bits of light where it's almost catching, on. If I turn the bevel and emboss off, you can see that they just become little black specks of dirt. Adding the bevel and emboss is then giving some sort of depth to them, some dimension to them. And what I've done is basically, on a screen in the shading area, which is these little areas here, I've just taken a colour from around here, the orangey sort of colour, and I've okayed that, and I put that in a screen blending mode there. Shadow mode, the dark bits from the multiply. Opacity 75% on the screen blending mode. Bump it up and it make it really quite bright there, but I didn't want it to be too bright, so I've just brought that down to 75. That's basically how I've got those edges. And using this angle, if you take off this use global light, which tends to sort of, if you click on that, it tends to take it out. Remove that, and then by taking the, let's go back to my bevel and emboss, sorry. Yeah, by changing, what's going on here? Because I put a colour overlay on. Let's get a shot of that. Something about that. Here we go. That's better. Back to the bevel and emboss. And by taking the angle here, you can actually change the angle from where that contour and that shadow is going to come. See, I've got it now to come from the top left. Well, that's not where the actual flame is. The flame's down below it to the bottom right. So by bringing that back around there we go. I can actually bring that down. So it's actually reflecting the flame and everything here. So it's all catching that in there. And that's basically how that one was done there. And if I go to the very top one, which is this one here, I've got the bigger ones here. Well, I'll put a few more effects on here. So if I go back into the effects, and on the effects there, I've got bevel and emboss, which I've just shown you. I've got an inner glow on that one as well. Which just brings out a little bit more of the redness on it. And I put a pattern overlay, because it's almost like it's, if you can see that when I pop that back on, it's almost like, gives a feeling that it's metally sort of effect to it. So I've put a pattern overlay, and if I click onto the pattern overlay, basically it's the bubbles pattern, but it works quite well for this. So I've scaled it 100% on that one, and that's just a normal blend mode. So that's basically how that one's been done. And that's it. That's how it's put together. Hopefully that was some help. If you want to ask any questions about it, then feel free to sort of ask me a question, drop me a mail or whatever, and I'll answer whatever I can. I hope that's been of some use to you.